Today was all about business for Narendra Modi and Shinzo Abe, but Sunday, which was day one of that visit by the Indian Prime Minister, was a day for friends. The Indian Prime Minister was welcomed into Abe's holiday home on Sunday, calling Modi one of his most dependable and valuable friends. Shinzo Abe held informal talks with his Indian counterpart. Modi and Abe shared a private lunch at the resort, which overlooks Mount Fiji. That's a camaraderie that the two leaders share, one that goes as far back as from Modi's chief ministerial days. But it's not just Shinzo Abe. Narendra Modi shares such a personal rapport with many world leaders. And it shows when these heads of state host Prime Minister Modi in their private homes or hold private dinners for him. Like Vladimir Putin, when Narendra Modi met Putin in May this year, he was hosted at a private villa of the Russian president. With the private lunch of the two heads of state, no minister accompanied Modi. There were no documents signed either, making it an informal meeting. In January this year, Prime Minister Narendra Modi broke protocol to receive his friend Benjamin Netanyahu at the airport. While the Israeli Prime Minister was on a formal visit to India, the two friends found some informal time as well. Narendra Modi hosted a private dinner for Netanyahu and his wife. In June last year, Narendra Modi visited the White House. During his three-day visit, Modi was hosted by Donald Trump for a private dinner at the White House. US President Donald Trump hosted Prime Minister Modi for a working dinner. Now, the White House also is the president's office in this case, but the dinner was the first of its kind under the Trump administration. In 2015, a year after Narendra Modi took over as the Prime Minister of India, he visited China. What was significant about that visit is that he was the first leader to be hosted by President Xi Jinping in his hometown. Modi's first stop during that trip was not Beijing, but Xi'an, which is Xi Jinping's hometown. Even more unusual was the fact that Chinese President Xi Jinping traveled to Xi'an to welcome Modi to China, the first time he had done so for a foreign leader. Japan and India share strong bilateral ties since the establishment of diplomatic relations in 1952. Japan, in fact, this is Modi's 12th meeting with Shinzo Abe since Prime Minister Modi was first elected in 2014. Japan's investment in India is seeing contributions on multiple fronts. Japan also helping with the superfast railway system in India, also at the forefront of engaging in Make in India activities. In the defense sector, India and Japan are all set to hold their first joint military exercises involving ground forces starting next month. India is also in talks with Japan for the US two amphibious aircraft. Japan will also help develop road networks in India's northeast, including those linking with Bhutan, Bangladesh. India has a population of over 1 billion, which makes it one of the main focus markets for Japanese commodities and goods. The Indian market clearly is indispensable for Japan. India and Japan were in talks for a military logistics pact called the Acquisition and Cross-Servicing Agreement, which will be quite similar to the logistics pact between India and the US. One can also expect pacts on infrastructure and maritime domain awareness. And when it comes to the relationship between the two countries, China remains the proverbial elephant in the room. Both India and Japan are keen to contain China's influence, especially in the Indo-Pacific region and the Indian Ocean. China's increasing influence in the region of Central Asia through the Belt and Road Initiative may endanger the interests of both the countries. This month, when Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe visited Beijing, it was the first official visit to Beijing by a Japanese political leader in nearly 7 years. Shinzo Abe and the Chinese leaders agreed on the principle of moving from competition to cooperation.